What is your take on the revelation over the weekend, I believe leaked by Russian intelligence, of a conversation between two or more high-ranking German generals talking about sending Taurus missiles to Ukraine, the need for German personnel, not clear if it's soldiers, intelligence, or civilians, to operate them, and the sort of offhanded reference to, well, we all know that the British are there.
Well, first and foremost, understand that this is they're planning an act of aggression, an act of war. And the last time I checked, Germany wasn't at war with Russia. But this conversation isn't hypothetical. I was a targeting officer for a while in my former career in the Marine Corps, and I helped put together the targeting appendix for our war plan against Iran. And I know what it means to look at a bridge and determine what we want to have happen to that bridge, and what kind of munitions would be required to achieve the desired effect, dropping the bridge, delaying, things of that nature. The Germans were talking about using Taurus missiles, which is a German-made cruise missile, to strike a strategic Russian civilian piece of infrastructure, the Crimea Bridge, to destroy it. They would need 10 to 20 of these missiles. That means that they've looked at aiming points. They've looked at, the kinetic results. What would happen when you hit it? Do you have to put more than one system on a pylon? Things of that nature. This is detailed planning that has taken place. It's not hypothetical stuff. These aren't four German officers sitting there drinking beer, eating schnitzel, and just shooting the breeze. These guys, this is a result of concerted planning. And it's not just planning in a vacuum. They know that this kind of planning has been taking place by the British and the French to strike the same target. We know that the Storm Shadow and Scalp missiles, which are the cruise missiles provided by both Great Britain and France, have been used to target the Kerch Bridge and other targets in Russia. It's an act of war. And here's the most important part, though. When we speak of democracies, NATO members, Germany's supposed to be a democracy. Civil military relations is the most important thing. That means that there has to be absolute civilian control of the military. The German Chancellor, Olaf Scholz, a few days prior to this conversation taking place, went public saying he will not allow Taurus missiles to be transferred. The German parliament has not once but twice overwhelmingly voted against sending Taurus missiles to Ukraine. And this is before this conversation took place. These officers say that the defense minister Pistorius is cognizant of what they're speaking of. This means that civil military authority in Germany has broken down completely. This is why the state of Saxony is talking about opening Article 13 proceedings against these officers for planning a war of aggression, which is a crime in Germany.
Is this the $2 billion bridge to Crimea, which looks like it's one of the wonders of the world?
Yes, I've been across it 3 times. I think it actually costs more than $2 billion, but yeah, it's a very big bridge.
But it's a civilian target. They're not talking about bombing a military base. This would be an act of war, would it not?
Well, it's going to be an act of war, whether it's a civilian target or a military target. It's an act of war. If it's a purely civilian target, it becomes an act of terrorism. One can make the argument that this bridge, because military trucks cross the bridge, military equipment on trains crosses the bridge, that it could be a military target. But you're missing the point here, because people are saying if Russia's bombing Ukraine, then Ukraine has every right to strike Russia. But they're missing the big picture. This is not a war between Ukraine and Russia. This is a war between Russia and the collective West. Ukraine, all of its logistics, its planning, its intelligence, the training, everything takes place on European soil outside of the reach of the Russian military. And so if people want to say, well, Germany is simply empowering Ukraine to strike deep into Russia. First of all, it's not that deep. It's Crimea. It's a civilian bridge. But if you want to play that game, then what you're saying is this war has changed. Now Russia gets to strike all the targets in Europe that will level that playing field. This is very much an uneven playing field right now. Russia is actually fighting this war with a hand tied behind its back, because all of the things that it would normally be able to do to disrupt logistics, which is one of the most important aspects of the war, it can't do because all the logistics is taking place on protected soil. Poland, Germany, France, Netherlands. That's places that Russia can't touch. Ukraine has a safe haven. In the Vietnam War, we talked about, how the North Vietnamese could go back to safe havens, and how this, made it very difficult for the United States to, to prevail in this conflict. Russia's facing a similar problem right now. And if Germany's there, if the logic is, no, you can bomb that bridge because Russia gets to bomb targets in Ukraine, you're missing the bigger picture.